How's it going, everybody, and welcome to History Bite number 21, dated August the 26th, 2020. I'm Walter, your mobile historian and blue-collar scholar. This History Bite is entitled, George Washington Had to Be America's First President. In the context of the 1780s, no person in this country was as universally loved, admired, respected, or trusted as George Washington. Literally, the man was a legend in his own time. Okay? After all, he had been the leader of the Continental Army throughout the American Revolution. He had served without pay, with distinction, and he had voluntarily relinquished his commission after the war, proving to people that he did not have a thirst or quest for power. Indeed, George Washington's humility at the end of the Revolutionary War and desire to return to private life proved to people that he was a man who, beyond question, could be trusted with the nation's affairs in whatever role he was in. Okay. There was not another person in the country at that time who commanded that level of trust. Washington himself, like I said, a very modest man, never thought himself equal to any of the positions he had. His role in being called to preside over the Constitutional Convention in 1787 was another one which arguably he did not feel he was qualified to do. Okay? But nonetheless, he knew that he was a unifying factor. Okay? If there was any one man who could hold the North and South together, it was Washington. All corners of the country praised him. Okay, respected him so much that it was all but inevitable that from that Constitutional Convention, with the creation of a chief executive of the United States of America, that the obvious first choice for that office was Washington. Washington, of course, was loved and admired well beyond just America. But for the sake of this History Bite, we focus on our own land here. All right. No man could have led this country with the amount of mandate as Washington. After all, people were all but certain that he would not use the office of presidency to become a tyrant, and most certainly not to become an elected king. Washington was the obvious first choice for all those reasons. And as a result of our first presidential election, all of that, ladies and gentlemen, was vindicated as the man who was perceived as the one who had single-handedly driven the British Army from our shores was inaugurated as our first president in New York, on the 30th of April, 1789. Now, of course, those were the perceptions of him. Of course, Washington was a fallible human who, of course, had his corruptible traits as well. But he was able to put his best foot forward in all that he did, and thus selflessly serving the United States as his first president, presiding over its Constitutional Convention in 1787, and leading the Continental Army. Okay? In all that he did, he proved that he was a man of integrity and trust. And because of all those things, no person would have been more able to become the nation's first chief magistrate than General George Washington. Thank you for listening to this History Bite, and I'll talk to you at the next one. Take care.